Did you know that there's a hidden switch inside your brain that, when activated, completely changes the way reality responds to you? Science has already proven it. There is a specific neural network that lights up when you enter a state of receiving abundance, and most people go through their entire lives without ever knowing that this pathway exists. The most impressive part: you can activate this network today in just a matter of minutes, and the effects are immediate. Opportunities show up, synchronicities unfold, and the feeling that everything is falling into place becomes your new normal. This isn't mysticism, it's applied neuroscience. In this video, you're going to discover the exact technique to activate this hidden power, based on the studies of Jacobo Grinberg and the latest research on neuroplasticity. Before we go on, write in the comments, "I now activate my path of abundance." This seals your intention and strengthens your vibration. Let's awaken together the power that already exists within you. Jacobo Grinberg was one of the greatest explorers of consciousness the world has ever known. A Mexican psychologist, neuroscientist, and researcher, he dedicated his life to uncovering how the mind shapes reality. Unlike traditional science, which sees the brain only as a biological organ, Grinberg proposed that it is a bridge between consciousness and the unified field of information, what he called the neuronal field. According to his theory, the reality we perceive is not fixed, but a projection of the internal structure of our mind. Years later, modern neuroscience began confirming fundamental aspects of his ideas. Today, with advanced neuroimaging scans, we can actually see how specific neural networks light up when someone enters elevated states of consciousness such as gratitude, trust, and especially abundance. One of these networks, known as the path of abundance, connects the brain's emotional and decision-making centers, allowing the mind to filter and notice opportunities that were previously invisible. In this video, you'll learn how to consciously access this pathway. The technique is simple yet powerful, combining science, spirituality, and intention to create real, tangible change in your life. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract opportunities so effortlessly, while others live in a constant struggle? The answer goes far beyond physical effort or luck. It lies in the neural conditioning each person carries, and this conditioning is molded early on to operate in a state of scarcity. From childhood, we're bombarded with phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," "You have to suffer to achieve something," or "Life is hard." Each one of these isn't just an idea, it's a command to the brain. What most people don't realize is that the brain is an adaptive system that learns and reshapes itself through emotional repetition. The more you hear, feel, and believe limiting ideas, the more your brain reorganizes itself to reinforce them. This creates what we call a conditioned reality, where you can only perceive what aligns with what you already believe. This is where the great illusion comes in, the belief that life is scarce, difficult, and limited. But this illusion isn't out there. It exists within the neural structure you've built over time. The brain has a system called the reticular activating system, RAS, which filters billions of stimuli per second and decides what you will consciously notice. And guess what? This filter is calibrated by your beliefs. If you believe opportunities are rare, the RAS will ignore any evidence to the contrary. In other words, your own mind is deleting the very doors that could change your life. Jacobo Grinberg anticipated this in his research on consciousness. He stated that reality is a projection shaped by the internal neuronal field, a kind of mental program that determines what you perceive, feel, and manifest. In other words, the reality you believe in is not the objective reality, but the version of it your mind allows you to receive. Scarcity, then, is simply a reflection of the inner configuration you maintain. The key point here is understanding that there is nothing wrong with you. The human mind has been conditioned for limitation, and your brain has simply been following what it was taught. But now that you know this, you can break the pattern. You can reprogram your brain to operate from a new reference point: abundance. The first step in this transformation begins with a conscious decision, recognizing that the reality you live today is only one possible version, not the only one. And more than that, it can be rewritten. But to do that, you need to activate a forgotten, powerful, latent neural network inside you. Modern neuroscience calls it the path of abundance, and activating it changes everything. Imagine that inside your brain there exists an invisible yet incredibly powerful pathway, capable of shifting how you perceive life, and therefore what you attract into it. Science has confirmed that this pathway is real. It's a neural network connecting key areas of the brain, and when it's activated, it literally shifts your inner frequency. This structure is called the path of abundance, and its activation is the dividing line between those who manifest effortlessly and those who keep struggling without results. This network works as a bridge between three brain centers: the limbic system, which governs your emotions; the prefrontal cortex, responsible for decisions and planning; and the reticular activating system, RAS, which filters what you perceive. When these three are aligned through this neural connection, something extraordinary happens. Your mind enters a state of openness, clarity, and focus. You begin to see solutions where you once saw problems, to notice opportunities that were once invisible, and to feel a deep confidence that everything is aligning in your favor. Science calls this neurointegrative activation, but Jacobo Grinberg had already described it decades ago. In his investigations of expanded states of consciousness, he observed how certain practices activated specific regions of the brain tied to expanded perception, intuition, and synchronicities. Grinberg argued that reality was shaped by an internal perceptual field, and that this field could be reorganized through directed stimuli to consciousness. In other words, activating the path of abundance is not just a neurological experience, but also a spiritual one. It's the alignment of mind, emotion, and perception with the frequency of creation. And here's the most fascinating part. This pathway, as powerful as it is usually inactive. Most people never access it. They live with this structure dormant, like a buried treasure in their backyard, without even imagining it exists. That's because the brain by default prioritizes survival, which means repeating familiar patterns. The state of abundance requires the opposite: openness, flexibility, surrender. And this only happens when you intentionally stimulate this circuit. Fortunately, neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to create new connections, gives us the key. Yes, you can activate this network, and when you do, you'll feel a clear shift, lightness in the body, clarity in your thoughts, and a sense of flow, as if everything is falling into place. This isn't luck. This is neurology serving manifestation. In the next part, you'll learn how to activate this network in practice. The technique is simple, doesn't require prior experience, and can be done today. But when applied with presence and intention, the results are deeply transformative. You don't need to wait for some magical future moment to start living in a state of abundance. The transformation begins today with a simple activation ritual that uses three powerful elements: breathing, visualization, and verbal reprogramming. This technique is based on scientific principles such as neuroplasticity and brain synchronization, and it also connects with Jacobo Grinberg's teachings on consciously accessing the perceptual field that shapes reality. The first step is to create the right environment. The brain needs a clear signal that it is safe to shift from survival mode into receiving mode. Choose a quiet, calm place, preferably before bed. Turn off the lights, silence devices, and prepare for a moment of reconnection with yourself. Now, lie down or sit comfortably, with your arms relaxed at your sides and your palms facing upward. This simple gesture communicates to the nervous system that you are receptive, open to receiving, and that's crucial. Close your eyes and take 7 deep breaths. With each exhale, release tension. Feel your body relaxing, your mind slowing down. The limbic system immediately responds to deep breathing by reducing stress levels and opening space for new programming. We now enter the active visualization phase. Imagine a golden thread of light beginning at the base of your skull, rising through the center of your head, and extending upward through the crown. This thread represents the path of abundance, the neural network you are activating. As you visualize it lighting up, repeat silently, "I'm now activating my path of abundance." Repeat this phrase slowly with full presence. Feel each word. By doing this, you are literally inducing your brain to create a new route of connection between your centers of perception, emotion, and decision. Now comes the emotional verbal reprogramming. Visualize this thread of light pulsing, alive. With each pulse, repeat one of the following affirmations, or all of them if you wish. I always receive what I desire or something even better. My life improves every day, in every way. My success is inevitable. The key here is not to repeat mechanically, but to feel the emotion that these statements are already true. The brain doesn't distinguish between real and vividly imagined experiences. If you feel it as true, it records it as reality. And that is what begins shaping your perception and decisions. Finally, place your hands over your heart and breathe with gratitude. This emotion seals the activation and sends the final signal to your subconscious. This is the new pattern. This technique can be practiced every night for 7 consecutive days to install the new neural pathway, and then weekly for maintenance. Repetition strengthens the network, and the stronger it becomes, the more natural it will feel to manifest with ease, clarity, and consistency. Visualization is not just about imagining something. When done correctly, with intention and emotion, visualization is a way of teaching your brain what it should seek, filter, and manifest. Neuroscience has shown that when you vividly imagine an experience, the brain activates the very same circuits it would if you were actually living that situation. In other words, to your brain, there is no difference between reality and vivid imagination. This is the scientific basis of directed visualization. When you clearly imagine something and repeat it often, your brain begins to form neural connections around that image. It's as if you're building an inner road where your attention, decisions, and behaviors will naturally begin to flow. And where focus goes, energy follows. Jacobo Grinberg understood this deeply. In his studies of expanded states of mind, he showed that consciousness could shape the field of reality through perception. According to him, the more detailed and emotionally charged an inner image is, the greater the impact it has on the field that organizes external reality. In other words, visualizing with emotion is conscious co-creation. But here's the secret: it's not enough to visualize casually. The mind needs to feel it's already happening. When you simply daydream about something while still feeling distant, lacking, or doubtful, you are reinforcing absence, not presence. True visualization must be immersive. You must see yourself inside the scene, not as an observer, but as the protagonist. Here's a practical example. Instead of imagining receiving money, visualize yourself checking your bank account, seeing the high balance and feeling the relief and joy of that achievement. Feel the phone in your hands, the glow of the screen, the background sounds, your calmer breathing. The secret is in the details, because details positively trick the brain into accepting the new reality as truth. Moreover, every emotionally engaging image you create sends signals to your reticular activating system, RAS, saying, "This matters to me." From then on, the brain begins noticing everything that could bring you closer to that reality. You start spotting opportunities, ideas, contacts, and paths, things that were always around you but previously went unnoticed. That's why daily visualization is essential. Create specific, detailed scenes. See yourself living the life you want with emotional intensity. You don't need to visualize for hours. 5 focused minutes are worth more than an hour of distracted wandering. When the image becomes clear and natural within you, it will start reflecting outward into the world. Because external reality is only a mirror of the internal frequency you choose to sustain. The key to transforming your life is not changing the outer world, but teaching your brain to operate from a new inner pattern. And this is possible thanks to neuroplasticity, the brain's incredible ability to reorganize, form new connections, and adapt to new experiences, thoughts, and emotions throughout life. For a long time, it was believed the brain was fixed, unchangeable after childhood. Today, we know that was a mistake. With every repeated thought, every deeply felt emotion, you are shaping your brain as a sculptor shapes clay. And this includes how you relate to money, success, and abundance. If you've spent years operating from a scarcity mindset, don't blame yourself. Your brain was simply reinforcing that circuit. The good news is that with intention and repetition, you can deactivate the old pattern and strengthen a new one. One where abundance becomes natural, automatic, ever-present. This is where the law of focus comes in. It states that what you focus on expands. What you feed with your attention grows in importance in your mind, and consequently begins appearing more often in your reality. If you spend your days focused on what's missing, your brain activates pathways of worry, fear, and contraction. But if you begin, even in small doses, to focus on signs of abundance such as gratitude, opportunities, or achievements, your brain will respond by reinforcing those connections. Jacobo Grinberg said the universe doesn't respond to your superficial wishes, but to the vibrational field you sustain consistently. In other words, it's no use desiring wealth while staying focused on debt. The dominant vibration is what sets the tone. So how do you apply this in practice? Observe your focus daily. Ask yourself, what am I feeding with my attention right now? If it's scarcity, fear, or doubt, shift direction consciously. Reinforce the new pathway with micro-victories. Notice a small improvement, a compliment, a good idea, an unexpected result. Celebrate it. That strengthens neuroplasticity and signals to the brain that this is the new normal. Use visual and verbal reminders. Place affirmations where you spend the most time. Say out loud every day, abundance is my natural state. Practice the activation technique regularly. The more often you repeat the ritual of breathing, visualization, and affirmations, the more your brain accepts this as the reality it must prioritize. Over time, what once felt like effort becomes habit. What once seemed impossible becomes normal. And that's when you realize you're no longer trying to manifest abundance, you're living from it. Activating the path of abundance is the first step, but the real power lies in keeping this neural network consistently active until it becomes your default state. Maintenance is what transforms a one-time experience into a new lifestyle, and it doesn't require hours of your day, just awareness, intention, and small adjustments that create big impacts over time. Just like a muscle needs continuous stimulus to grow strong, the brain also needs training to sustain new patterns. If you activate the neural pathway of abundance, but then spend the whole day immersed in complaints, fear, or negative distractions, the old pattern reinstalls itself. That's why staying conscious is fundamental. The first step to sustaining this activation is what we call the lens of abundance. This lens is a way of seeing the world. Whenever a challenge arises, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What good can come from this? How is this guiding me towards something greater?" This simple shift instantly changes your vibration, and prevents you from reconnecting with scarcity patterns. Another essential element is your predominant emotional state. Abundance is not a goal, it's an internal state. And that state is regulated mainly by the emotions you repeat most often. That's why you must cultivate emotions like gratitude, lightness, positive expectation, and trust. Create a daily moment, either when waking up or before bed, to consciously feel these emotions, even if just for 2 minutes. Simple practices to keep the pathway active. Wake up with intention. Before leaving bed, affirm, "Today, abundance finds me in unexpected ways." This prepares your RAS to look for confirmations of that idea all day. Respond consciously. When automatic scarcity thoughts arise, "This is hard, this won't work," stop them. Take a deep breath and repeat a power phrase. "I choose abundance now." Celebrate small synchronicities. Found a forgotten bill in your pocket? A client appeared out of nowhere. Someone said exactly what you needed to hear. Don't dismiss it, celebrate it. The mind learns through emotional reinforcement. Celebration fixes the pattern. Visualize weekly. Once a week, repeat the full activation technique. This re-anchors the neural circuit and prevents the connection from weakening. Jacobo Grinberg believed the universe is in constant response to the vibrational quality of your mind. That's why staying on the path of abundance doesn't mean denying problems. It means choosing a higher perspective even in the face of challenges. It's deciding that your vibration will be both your shield and your compass. Over time, your reality reshapes itself. The outer begins to mirror the new inner. And you no longer live chasing abundance. You live as abundance made manifest. Now that you've discovered how to activate and sustain the path of abundance in your brain, the next step is to apply it. Don't let this knowledge get lost in the sea of information. Commit to the practice. Set aside a moment each day to breathe, visualize, and affirm the reality you want to live. Remember, you don't need to see to believe. You need to feel to create. Start today. Activate your brain with awareness. Visualize, feel, speak out loud, celebrate what you already have, and above all, decide to live from abundance, not scarcity. The universe responds to the frequency you sustain, not the wish you simply think. If this video helped you, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Every week I'll bring you more content to expand your consciousness and help you live your full potential. And don't forget to leave in the comments, "I now activate my path of abundance." Ndil. This phrase seals your commitment to transformation and vibrates at the frequency of creation. You already have everything you need within you. The only thing missing was access. And now you have the key.